You're watching Network Radio. Live from the Media Broadcasting Center.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special report. I'm your host, Mark Russell, with the Media Broadcast Center. This is the 14th of November, 2015, and our topic tonight is the Paris attacks. Of course, everything has been going on, and we felt it, or I felt it quite necessary to do this report after witnessing things over the last week, and then of course over today with many of the outcoming and so many of the alternative media out there putting out their videos and their information and so forth. I applaud everybody that is awake, standing up, trying to share the truth, trying to pass on the word, and to try to make a difference. So there's just a couple of things I wanted to share as well along with that, and I'll kind of switch over to our other screens here. And you know, the first thing that really struck up as I was been looking through things is the similarity. Of course, the good old term false flag has flown around within probably 10 minutes, and I know last night, well, I was up trying to follow all the news feeds and the mainstream medias. Things weren't lining up right off the bat, and the propaganda messages from these elites no longer can work. We'll see how fast they track things. I do think over the last couple of months, the alternative media, the YouTube, everything else is making a difference. So many more people are stepping up, right from every day to the alternative news sources. So again, I applaud everybody, but it's not enough. We have to really start stepping up this game, because obviously they are stepping up theirs. But one of the first things I noticed out of the Kevin Blake show was there was training exercises through the day and at the beginning of the day of this, which of course, through my observation, the first thing that I kind of noticed was, again, how not only one soft target, but 5 to 7 soft targets are hitting within a half an hour of each other in France, who's already had attacks and false attacks before. And this is just missing everybody's radar here. I mean, even just as a normal individual looking at something, I mean, can you just go out and get a gun? Like, let's just use some common sense here. Like, how are these things happening when you have billions and billions of dollars? You have the NSA and every other agency for the last 10 years probing every aspect of every individual's lives, saying how much they're doing, and for the safety of nations, spending billions of dollars, and the mass population losing every ounce of privacy that exists. And then yet over 150 people in 5 different locations in a major world tourist city is just all of a sudden attacked, and nobody knew anything, and there was no prevention. And well, I guess we have to just throw some more billions of dollars at it, or I mean, what's the next step from here? Like we have TSA, everything else, the Patriot Act, 9/11 just caused a horrendous outpouring of the military-industrial complex and everything that came out of that. What's going to come from this was kind of my first thing that I just picked. But of course, the the MO for these false flags, drills being conducted. From our friend over at W7, who I've listened to for quite a while, brought to the attention of people a few days ago, and then again shared last night. Of course, the CIA director, French security chief, were meeting 2 weeks ago. And again, all of these things from the elite are all disguised with one agenda out in public, but gives them the smokescreen to have their backdoor meetings in private. No communications, no internet, no phone calls, no anything else. They get to meet behind closed doors and discuss what? I mean, you have all these agencies again, MI6, everybody together, Mossad, CIA, but after billions of dollars and how good they are, they had no clue of any of this. So maybe we should just fire them all. Maybe they shouldn't exist anymore. I wonder how well the world would be if none of these agencies existed. Because obviously they can't do anything, at least not anything for the good of the world population. Excuse me. But one thing I was seeing as well through this, and the other quick thing I did want to bring up along these things. Of course, you do have the ISIS that have stepped up and claimed responsibility. And, of course, their leader, just like the leader for 9/11, one's a CIA agent and one's a Mossad agent. So there's your next kind of tick mark in the MO of these events. And, of course, through the social media, I'm sure everybody has seen this popping up. I noticed this last night right within inside of one of the first news reports where this came up. And I went, geez, that's an awful familiar kind of looking shot, you know? It's just kind of really funny how that goes. And, of course, with Media Broadcast Center hosting Jim Fetzer in The Real Deal, you have a great resource there to check out all of the Sandy Hook information, the Boston bombing with Trans George and Truth Talk, massive amount of research and evidence and so forth in our archives and on our website at mediabroadcastcenter.com and our YouTube channel. But of course, now this is going all the way around everywhere, and the girl sure gets around, or she still looks real familiar. And of course, there's a lot of arguments going back and forth all over the place on whether it is her, whether it's not her, and so forth. But what more struck me is, I don't really care if it's exactly her, but I mean, 4 events, and you've got the same staging, the same agenda through this, the same script. And if that's not absolutely clear to anybody, then they've got their rose-colored glasses on, and they just don't want to see. So there's no point in discussing anything with them. If this isn't absolutely a staged photo, I don't know what is. Between the 2 agents that are beside him, and as far as I'm concerned, those guys are agents. They're no member of a police force or anything else. Those are agents. And, of course, she's just playing the role just right through. And, of course, her being so upset and this guy behind just kind of strolling down the street, that's clearly a staged photo. There's just no question in my mind about it whatsoever. And our notorious fact of course, one of the perpetrators that apparently blows himself up on one report, and then I guess he's one of the guys that was shot. We don't know which one it is yet, but of course, that fascinating bulletproof passport, bomb-proof passport is found on him, or another report laying beside him. They can't quite decide which way it is. But boy, these guys are so smart. They outwit Mossad, outwit French intelligence, MI6, NSA, every world agency, and yet they carry their passports on them during a terrorist attack. So I just find that awesome. Isn't that just brilliant of these guys that this is what they do? Of course, the timing of these attacks as well has an awful lot to be curious about. Tomorrow, of course, our G20, where the main topic of discussion is the Islamic problem, world terrorism, financing. So here we go again. It's just a day before this, showcasing a world problem before this G20. I guess they have some work to do. Again, amazing how after 15 years, it seems that the world is only in more and more problems every month than the month before. Maybe we should really consider just what kind of governance this world has. And of course, the timing on this actually fit into yesterday, the first Syrian refugees showing up in New Orleans. This is a little bit quite coincidental as well, I'm sure, along with it being Friday the 13th. But of course, there's no connection with any of this. And out of these 10,000 that, of course, have all these brilliant passports, none of these have anything to do with ISIS, any militant group. Oh, geez, look at all those women and children that are just starving and fleeing war in their home country. I'm sure this is really a humanitarian goal that the Obama administration is helping out the world here, and it should be a shining example. Not quite a wonder why his agenda now is to receive over 100,000 through 2016, but we're going to be doing another report on the actual agenda, the ISIS agenda for the United States sometime very shortly. So that was quite the other main thing I did find. The other thing I wanted to just kind of cover quickly was the actual term false flag. It's thrown out there so quickly, and for most that do at least a little bit of due diligence or at least check a few things that people say, they'll have an understanding of what the term false flag means. Most people absolutely just presume that an event never happened. It doesn't exist. And unfortunately today I've actually heard a few people say the whole thing is fake. That's not the term for a false flag. I don't believe the Paris attacks were fake whatsoever, as more Sandy Hook and the Boston bombing were. I do believe that there was attacks and so forth. How they were orchestrated, who orchestrated them, and for the agenda behind it is a totally different story. And that is the false flag meaning, or black flag. So I encourage people to, before they jump to automatic conclusions, do check out your information about what terms mean and so forth, and just don't jump to the automatic conclusions of everything. Of course, Media Center has been our Facebook page. I've been posting quite a bit on there through. The other thing I wanted to really point out that I kind of concluded watching the reports at the beginning of this week, what was happening around Syria and other parts of the world, and then along with the Paris reports, is I'm just fascinated at the funding and the amount of money that it actually takes for things to happen. Does anybody stop and think for a second, just the funding alone to get people from A to B, excuse me, feed them, operate them, travel, cars, then start talking about weapons, explosives, hand grenades, passports, accommodations, everything. Like, where is all this money coming from? And then even if you want to get into the big details of trying to funneling the money through the upper sources, forget about that. Somebody is handing this cash around. Somebody is laundering this money. Somebody is handling these people. And again, this is where the false flags come in. This is where these little exercises the day of an event or the day before an event are so important. These people, not everybody involved in these exercises and so forth, of course, are involved in the upper intelligence of what the true agenda of these things are. Just like the other smoke screens of the meeting of the echelons, these exercises are the smoke screens to perpetrate the setup and the infrastructure to carry out these attacks. They provide the weaponry. They provide things being transported in, that material handling, all these things that would normally raise all the flags or be intercepted or just traveling through within sight of the handlers of these attacks. And again, which makes it a false flag by its definition. So I really encourage people also to pay attention to, where's this money coming from? Where's the handlers? More of the boots on the ground are probably going to be a more direct way of nailing it down than trying to find the funding through the U.S. government, the U.S. State Department, through the IMF, the International Monetary Funds, the World Banks, whoever these funds are all going through. It's going to be, I think, a lot easier to find out, okay, like, where are these guys staying? How did they come into the country? Who's paying the bills here? So I think that's one of the better ways of actually looking and going after these things. And again, our indestructible passport. I saw one meme earlier today that suggests we start using these materials for the space shuttle's outer skin, which was kind of funny. But again, you can check on a lot of postings on our Facebook page. And the one thing that I posted today as well, because I wanted to also make it quite aware of the mass agenda of this, which is part of the propaganda protocols of these false flags. There's horrendous events happening every month around the world to numerous amounts of cultures and countries and places that don't get 1/10 of attention anywhere. And one such attack was the Kenya attack, where 147 died in a university assault. That's one building in one occurrence, and 147 people, and you heard next to nothing about this. You had no replies about it. You didn't have everybody running around changing their Facebook profile pictures. It's just unbelievable the amount of tragedies that are happening around the world, but it takes this mainstream event to get anybody's dyers up and start going at things where massive amount of people are experiencing genocide as part of their daily lives. Just look at Gaza, Palestine, Ethiopia, like just everywhere. So I encourage people to look for events throughout the world and pay just as much attention to them. So here at NBC, we've never been short of having our own opinions and sharing them and giving the uncensored truth about things. And tonight's no different. It's amazing how things keep on going and the turmoil that I'm seeing through the social media, the comments that I'm seeing on YouTube channels. It's hopeful and it's disheartening at the same time. False flag, I don't think there's any doubt. To refer to it as fake or to refer to it as truth is starting to keep up with the fear porn and not see that it's a very fixed propaganda machine of the same old problem, reaction, solution is burying your head in the sand. But did this happen? Of course it did. Did people die? I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. Is there going to be more of them? Is there any doubt? Is there going to be a backlash just from this event? Are they not under martial law already? Are their borders not closed? Have announcements not been out all day from several different countries stepping up security? Well, what does that mean for all of us now? Is it an agenda that, well, now it's going to be mandatory chipping? I mean, what more can TSA do? What more can Homeland Security do? Maybe the next step here in this agenda is, let's say by 2016, the spring of, every human being will have a microchip. Why not? Whoever would have believed the Patriot Act would have ever been in place, and still is. But the biggest point that I want to bring out is seeing the conflict through everybody. If we can't see over the last 15 years all of the truth that is undeniable and is impacting every person's daily life, let alone the horrific things that are happening in other countries that actually have to suffer boots on the ground through this, we're going to be so lost. We have to stop this arguing. We have to stop just doing this type of report, just doing these type of videos. They're fundamentally, foundationally important to keep waking up more and more of the population, to give tools for people to use, to share, to talk to their families, to give evidence and so forth. But it's not enough. we have to start taking the 10, 15 minutes at the end of a show or as we're presenting things and step our game up. The people that are awake have to peel back the next onion layer and step their game up. It's the financing, it's the alphabet soup agencies, it's the banking that are causing this. What do you think is going to change anything? Unless we give something to hang on to and for somebody to start to share and to move forward with, just doing these reports, just doing the news isn't going to do anything. Are we actually saying anything has gotten better in anybody's lives in the last 10 years? So why is it that we would think by keep on doing these reports, anything's going to change? It's not. Unless we start saying a solution for it, that we start stepping up our game of stop the peddling bickering, unite as a front, and end these governments. Go back to a local community government, go back to a republic of your state, go back to provinces separating, get rid of anything that looks like a federal government anywhere on the planet until the people can come together in a higher consciousness or a higher educational level without the indoctrination of our mass medias and our education system, until we can form a united front or a larger institution of governance. Until we as a people start taking our individual power back and start empowering other people to do the same thing, nothing in this planet is going to change for the better, but only get worse. And for me, that's a word of encouragement to you. Humanity is an awesome force. We just have to start embracing it. Until next time, I've been Mark Russell with Media Broadcast Center. We shall see you again. God bless.